Oh, AI barbecue. How good is the AI barbecue?
Now you need to go help yourself, okay? That's a bridge too far. AI barbecue. You're not taking my job. AI barbecue.
I think there's going to be some amazing AI barbecue.
Now I understand what those actors were talking about, taking my
Suddenly
job.
it's all
AI
clear
barbecue.
with those models who don't want their jobs taken by the AI models.
I love how the Vogue, they're talking about taking an AI model. I'm like, yeah, well, that makes sense. And they're like, well, we're going to do voiceover with AI. Yeah, that makes sense. Extras. Yeah, that makes sense. I'm like, barbecue? I'm like, oh, no. Bridge too far.
Stop right there.
Bridge too far.
Quiet on the set.
If there's like a collab between Boston Dynamics and Big Green Egg, man, I am noping right out of that.
4, 3, 2.
Company presents a Truly Terrible Podcast. Welcome to Nonsense, Season 3, Episode 42. I'm Jeff Parker.
I'm CJ Little.
This is our take on the week's business, tech, and entertainment headlines. This time, Epic's court victory puts Google on the clock.
I'm telling you, man, we should have stuck with Alta Vista. Would have never had these problems.
Thousands of government IDs leaked from the supposedly safe dating app T.
Oh, vibe coding at its best.
Solar and wind are eclipsing fossil fuels on the grid.
Oh, so very many pissed off coal miners.
Also, our big story later this week, Ditch the Drama, Embrace the Dream, approaches for Better Sleep Part 2.
More sleep? We're doing more sleep?
It's National Dog Month, time to honor the unconditional love, slobbery kisses, and endless tail wags they bring into our lives. This month is also a call to action. Thousands of dogs across the country are waiting for their forever homes. Shelters are overflowing, and every dog deserves a chance at a happy life. Adopt, don't shop. Celebrate your dog and help a dog in need. I always tell Barkley when that ASPCA commercial comes on, don't look at the screen, Barkley. Don't look at the screen. Oh, the skinny little sad dog. Feels so bad. How's your week going?
I'm back in lovely Los Angeles. I'm back from Arizona, or some people call it the Grand Canyon State, or the Copper State, which I didn't know. Mm-hmm. I call it the Surface of the Sun State.
The Surface of the Sun State?
The Surface of the Sun State. That is what it feels like when you're there. Yes, I understand it's a dry heat, but it is insanely hot there.
Arizona's hotter than the surface of the sun. It doesn't feel like the surface of the sun.
It does feel like somehow the sun gets magnified and concentrated on Arizona. My wife, who grew up there as a kid, she's like, yeah, it was never this hot when I was a kid in Phoenix. I was like, wait, yeah, really? I don't know. Like, I just assumed that was some nostalgia. Like, maybe it's a little warmer. Of course, I can't let this go, so I had to dig around just to find out that, as I should know by now, she's right. Yeah. I looked at 50-year of temperature data for Phoenix. Believe it or not, the daily high temperature over the summer has gone up about 2.7 degrees in the past 50 years.
Sure.
But that wasn't what was most striking. The daily low temperature over the summer has gone up by double that, 5.5 degrees.
Oh, wow.
So it's not getting cooler at night.
That's awful.
And then, like, average rainfall's cut in half. It's awful.
Wait, don't blow that away. Yeah. Average rainfall in Arizona is cut in half.
Over the summer months is cut in half.
Don't they have like monsoons in Arizona in the summer?
But if you look at, again, I'm drawing a line through the averages across 50 years, sort of the only way to get an indicator if it's going up or down. Yeah. And you can see the rainfall is going way down. Now, this is only over some select months. So perhaps that rain is being redistributed in other months. Probably not. But the point is, their summers are getting way worse. I mean, you're there now. Like 115 used to be a record. Yeah. And now 115 is a Tuesday.
Have you ever been to Arizona during a monsoon?
Yes.
It's crazy.
It's crazy.
It's like you're in a rainforest.
Twister Phoenix edition. I like the monsoons. I don't like the monsoons as much as I liked thunderstorms in Michigan when I was a kid. I miss those. Yeah. Those were like rain that hurt. Like rain that came down so big that it would hurt. And the lightning, like I remember my mother was afraid of lightning. She would sort of like run to the center of the house. Sure. I would glue myself to this big bay window that we had and just watch the lightning. Sure. It's like the least safe place to be, but whatever.
Your house probably had a lightning rod or something at the top.
Sure.
You know?
Ben Franklin lived next door. I did come back with a sore throat. I'm pretty sure it's strep, so I got that going for me.
From Arizona.
So I'm going to cough on you a bunch.
I'm going to scoot back.
That will be fine.
Here.
How about you? How's your week? Wait, hold on. Please tell me you've had a better story than Surface of the Sun and strep throat.
First of all, I'm going to scoot back from the table just a little bit farther if you don't mind.
Slide forward. Okay, go ahead.
And my story for the week is that my Spectrum went down for about 24 hours. My internet was gone. Yeah. Again, which is not the end of the world.
Why don't you just switch to another high-speed provider? Oh, you
because I have one option.
Yes.
And the crazy thing was, it was right as my kid was trying to teach me a lot of cool little tricks in AI programming, which I really wanted to learn. Fine. We switched over to a hotspot. It works, whatever. Basically, AI programming doesn't work if you don't have access to the internet. Sure. We had an alternate method, so we got back connected to the internet. The interesting thing to me was AI programming is just not that different from regular programming.
Sure.
You still have to figure out.
It's a really helpful tool.
you still have to figure out all the logic of the application.
Sure.
All right, so you don't have to actually know the details of how to write it in Rust. To me, that's like the simplest part of the whole process.
One thing you said that I don't necessarily agree with was that you need the internet for AI coding. Two things. One, you can do it locally, and it's getting more and more local in the future.
Not if you want to use the powerful models we were using.
But more importantly, can you develop without the internet these days?
I can.
Without online resources and access to APIs, how do you develop locally anymore? Like, I can't even do it.
Well, I have tons of things that I just remember.
All right, Rain Man. Great. Wapnerd 3. Fantastic. I need to look stuff up.
Some stuff I definitely like. New things you always have to look up, of course.
Yeah.
It is possible to keep going.
Sure.
Mostly, it is possible to keep going without the internet. In this case, with AI, it's not possible to keep going. You're shut down.
I would like to see you try to take some small chunk of utility and try to code it all vibe coding. I don't ever want you to actually touch an editor. I want to see you vibe code the whole thing.
Well, that's what we were doing. That's exactly what we were doing.
But I want to see you do it by yourself without the help of your spawn. I want to see you do it tip to tail.
He's got a lot of experience.
Exactly.
I'm a long way away from being able to do that.
Get me Hello World with a timer, all vibe coded. You're not allowed to use a text editor.
I could probably do that. That's probably doable.
You 100% could.
Yeah.
To write a passage. It's your Hello World, except with 50,000 lines.
I started by doing Hello World. That was the first thing I did in vibe coding. Yeah.
It took 3 minutes to compile and was literally 50,000 lines.
No, it wasn't bad at all. It's pretty efficient. All of the engineering, except for actually typing this thing out in some computer language, some coding language, is exactly the same.
Yeah.
All of the figuring out of the logic and all of those things, nothing changes. So engineers, your jobs are safe.
Well, I mean, most of them. The guys at T might be in trouble.
Guys at T maybe should be in trouble.
Maybe should be.
Speaking of which, shall we get to our headlines?
Let's do it.
Google fights emergency stay to keep App Store closed. Following a major court defeat against Epic Games, Google is now fighting a court order that mandates it open up the Play Store to competing app stores. In a desperate move, Google has filed an emergency request to stay the ruling, claiming that the rapid changes required by the deadline would jeopardize the security of its Android platform and potentially harm users. The battle for control over app stores is escalating, with significant implications for developers and consumers alike.
Well, yeah, that last part is definitely true. There's going to be significant implications for developers, consumers, and Google. There's no way around that.
Have you developed your app store yet that you're going to put up on the Play Store?
The nonsense app store where like nothing actually works. It all just seg faults on your phone. This is a kind of interesting to me. So I read through the emergency request. The emergency request to me has no real teeth. They basically said we need like 30 days to file our bigger stay, our bigger request. What they sort of imply, or at least what I think they want you to infer, is that they haven't done any of this work, right? They're like, well, we can't do it this fast. We can't move this quickly. I kind of think that's
crazy.
A bunch of crap. Like, I got to believe they've done this work. I can't believe Google.
You knew this was coming. This was a possible outcome at least 18 months ago.
This was not a surprise.
How dare you not do some of this work in advance so that you could do it very quickly if it actually came down?
But my presumption is, because they've talked about, they've definitely signaled that they're going to appeal this to a higher court.
Sure.
So my hunch is their strategy, which I would agree with, is they do not want to open up the can of worms. Right? Once you open up the can of worms, it's so much hard to go back.
Sure.
So I think they want to just hold this off until they've gotten through the entire appeal process. And it does make sense to me. I think you want to keep the status quo until you're through the whole appeal process.
I understand Google might want to do that. That's not what the judge is saying. The judge is saying you need to do this now.
Yeah, I mean, they're being pretty clear about this.
The time is up. You are at the point where this needs to be done.
I get that. I do think, once you open it up, let's say their appeal is found in favor of Google, you have done some irreparable damage to Google and the Play Store by opening this up. So I do get their argument.
Yes, but that choice is not up to Google. That choice is up to the judge.
Well, yeah, but to get to the right answer, whatever the right is, don't you want to see it go through the entire appeal process first? That doesn't seem unreasonable.
I do, but if we've delayed this so much and the judge is saying, no, the time is now, you can still appeal it.
Yeah.
There's still appeals down the road.
Yeah.
Then no, you do what the judge says.
Oh, of course.
It's not up to Google to write its own version of the law.
Of course you do what the judge says, but we're bearing the lead here, right?
Yeah, go ahead.
We can debate whether or not they should or shouldn't release it before. What's the end state? And this is where I sort of come back to. And I think about the consumers, specifically on the Android operating system. What is best for them?
That's me.
And
what's best for me?
That is you. I forget that is you green bubbler. But here's the thing. I'm going to simplify this quite a bit. You can argue that Google's been saying, look, we control the Play Store and we control everything that's in it. We know that everything in it is good and okay, and there shouldn't be any other Play Stores, because if there are, we can't control what's in there. We don't know if consumers are going to be harmed, right? That's a reasonable argument.
Although there are already other Play Stores. You just can't load them as easily. You just aren't loading them from the actual actual Play Store.
But I think their argument has been, hey, everything here is safe. If we open this up, it's not going to be as safe for the consumer.
Historically, that has not proven to be true. There have been plenty of apps that have had problems.
That have gotten through, and they go, well, we're not perfect. You're like, well, yeah, you are.
They're definitely not perfect.
So if we take a step back and just go, okay, well, forget about how we've gotten where we are. What would be the best possible thing for the consumer from a safety perspective for apps? What would you, if you wanted the safest thing for Android users for applications that they get, wherever they come from, what would be the safest solution?
There are people who will do this App Store thing better than Google does it. There are people who will put more effort into it than Google. But there will be people who do it worse as well.
Of course.
Obviously, Google's going to have to design some on-device mechanism for scanning apps for potential problems.
And how do we get the best security? How do we always get the best security?
Open source is the thing, so everybody can see what it does and how it does it. Everyone can adjust it so that every way you game it gets addressed and fixed. Of course.
If any of the big players were to do this, I would put Google probably at the top of the list. Meaning, if they know, hey, we've lost control of the Play Store, we've gone through all our appeal process, it's over, right? Like we have to open this up. I could see them being the ones to do this. I think they are the most likely of all the big players to do this. More so than Apple, more so than Samsung. I could see them doing this, and that would be really awesome. Like if that's the outcome of this, that could reset the stakes for everybody.
Yeah, for sure.
Where the expectation is a local open source managed by the entire community. And in this case, the Android community is the world. Like it's literally everybody. Yeah. That would be fantastic. And I kind of look at that and I go, oh, that's what I want. If that's what comes out of this case, that's a huge win for everybody.
That would be very cool. Sure. We'd get scanning that actually was great. App scanning.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
I mean, you get a fingerprinting process and review process, and you would open up all of the secrets, quote unquote, would be opened up to all the black hats. And that's exactly what you want. Yeah. You want that out there.
Think about all the encryption that we've had that's been closed source and how bad it's turned out to be.
Not some of them, every one of them.
Every one of them. We have so much good encryption because of open source.
It doesn't start as this is the point, it doesn't start as perfect, but
but enough people bang on it and game it out and figure out where the problems are, and it gets improved and improved and improved.
I actually think I'm completely overly optimistic here, but I think there's a possibility once Google has exhausted all of their remedies and they go, okay, we got to open this thing up. I think there is a real world where Google could say, we're going to make this better for everybody because we have to now. And you could see an on-device open source platform to keep your device safe. And that could be the best possible thing to happen, not just to Android, but to mobile. And that's kind of what I'm rooting for now. So now I'm like, yeah, we need Google to lose these appeals. Like we definitely, not because I want more app stores, because I want this solution. And this is the way to get it. Like what a great win that would be.
I'm not afraid of more app stores. I'm not afraid of more payment options. None of those things bother me. Go nuts. But I agree with you. The open source method, and I'm not optimistic when I say that. I'm realistic when I say that. There's enough history behind this to show you that open source is the way to go.
Yeah, I'm not afraid of those things either, but I do think we are glossing over some bit of remuneration to the platforms. I don't think that should all be borne by the sale of hardware devices and licenses.
Servers do not take a ton of money. Servers are cheap.
But there's still some costs involved. There's still tooling costs involved.
Very small. In this case, I think we're vastly overcharging for a couple of servers and a few programmers.
Don't disagree.
Stunningly overcharging.
Finally, we agree on something.
The tea app is leakier than a Wicker Canoe. The tea was meant to be spilled on men, not by them. For the women of the viral tea app, a supposedly safe space for dating advice and warnings, a massive data leak turned a cup of confidential chatter into a bitter public reality. Tea, a popular women's-only dating safety app, suffered a major data breach due to a misconfigured Firebase storage bucket that exposed highly sensitive user data.
Cup of confidential chatter.
Yes.
Look at you with the alliterations today. First of all, who's making, let alone buying, a Wicker Canoe?
Probably Wicker's too weak, but I would get the rattan canoe.
Of course you would. It's like,
come on, how cool is that?
It's the most unusable physical object in the store. They're just like, this is for display purposes only.
Have you seen Thor Heyerdahl's Kon-Tiki?
I'm sorry, I don't know any of those words in that sentence.
It's a boat made of reeds. You have to look it up. Thor Heyerdahl's Kon-Tiki was a boat they actually made from reeds, balsa logs, hemp ropes, and bamboo.
Oh, that's super interesting. I mean, I guess if all you have is reeds and you want a boat,
you can make
this is what happens next. With enough Flex Seal, anything will float. So that's my hunch as to how they built that. This has been in the news quite a bit, not something we would normally cover. However, I've dug in a little deeper on this is the T app. So for those that don't know, the T app was released a couple of years ago. It was designed to allow women to anonymously share information and discuss men that they are dating, which is an idea that I had over 20 years ago, bought some domains, did some work around. However, I realized there was way too much opportunity for slander and for unchecked conversations. I never pursued it any further. It's interesting to see T app doing it. On the surface, I think it's a great idea.
Sure.
I think when you get into implementation land and you get into into the realities of humans, it's a terrible idea. But leave that as it is. This is the thing that we got. We got the T-app.
Yeah.
There was a breach, I'll put breach in quotes, a couple weeks ago, and they had a whole bunch of data that was exposed.
Why are you putting breach in quotes? It actually happened.
Well, yes, it actually happened. Breach implies to me you found an exploit, you did an SQL injection, you picked the lock on the door, you slid the unlocked window open and climbed into the house. Breach would require one of those things.
To you, breach doesn't mean that they didn't require a username or password to get in.
This is literally a public bucket. This is, they posted.
Sure, exactly.
Imagine this company worked on paper and not digitally. And you came in and you gave them a photocopied, a facsimile photocopy of your driver's license.
Sure.
They posted it on a cork board outside of the building on the front wall. Like, that's the equivalent.
They didn't know what they were doing security-wise. They had no idea what they were doing.
Well, they didn't know what they were doing programmatically, really.
Yeah.
But yes, okay, let's scope it to security. So my point is, it's hard for me to call it a breach when it was all just publicly available. Instead of breach, I would use the word reading. Like, that's what this was. It was just reading.
They didn't mean for it to be quite that easy, but yes, I understand.
I understand that their intent was for it not to be publicly displayed. That much I'm pretty sure is clear. However, it was publicly displayed.
Yeah.
And this is where I get pretty grumpy. You can't say, well, we didn't know. Like, no. The bucket literally defaults to public access.
Yeah.
3 minutes of searching would tell you this. More importantly, if anyone's ever done this before and had a modicum of experience, they would have gone, oh, well, yeah, of course, it defaults to public. Why the hell would you?
Sure.
Why, like, don't use that.
These were people who made an app who really didn't have programmatic experience, didn't have security experience, really weren't ready to make an app as popular as this became.
Yes, what my co-host is trying to articulate is they had no idea what they were doing.
Yeah.
I think is what he's trying to articulate. Okay, I can be grumpy about that, and you can wear a scarlet letter for a while and be a little shameful. Okay, fine. But then they came out and said, oh, no. This only affected our very early users before they were migrated to our special super secure black magic system.
Sure.
This only affected a small number of users before 2024.
Which, shock and surprise, is not true.
Yes. So now there are two competing views on this. You could one say, well, they lied. They just lied and tried to scope it down.
Or they didn't know.
I don't think that's the case. I think they didn't know. And that's actually my bigger concern is if they willingly lied, I'd be like, well, okay, they got their fingers on it. They're trying to minimize it. But if they willingly lied and knew
it's
that,
full self-driving.
they would have known to close the hole and they didn't. It's arguably worse that they didn't lie, that they just didn't know what they were doing, because it then was like, oh, shoot, you're now trying to respond to this thing. You're trying to minimize the scope, which is probably the right PR thing to do. And the researcher who initially discovered this, when they announced that, immediately went back because he knew it was, or he or she knew that it was not true. Looked at the data set again and was like, no, you're lying about this. Like, what you're saying is not,
things wide open,
is not the truth. So I found some copy from the researcher who discovered this. They wanted to prove that T was not being honest when they said it was data prior to 2024, and they exposed this. What's more interesting to me about how they exposed it, they wrote their process for what they did. They used Claude to generate a script, which I thought was great. Your sort of assistant. This is the no-brain stuff. This is like walk the Firebase bucket. I went and looked at what employees I could find for this company. The founder, who presumably ran shotgun on the whole development of the thing, took a 6-month code camp at UC Berkeley. And that's where I think this gets problematic. Is it's like, look at this thing that I can build, which is great.
It was 25 hours per week.
It was 25 hours per week for covering a full stack, which I also thought was great to see, a full stack. Apparently, security wasn't in the full stack. Like,
they covered everything in 6 months.
The full stack was everything except for any modicum of security.
The future is now. Renewables dominate new power plants.
And another thing about the Play Store.
America's power grid is rapidly moving toward clean energy. In the first half of this year, the vast majority of new U.S. power capacity came from solar, wind, and battery storage projects. Experts predict this renewable energy trend will continue despite political efforts to slow it down.
All right, two things. One, I can't believe that we have a happy story in here. That's just weird for us.
It's kind of a cool story.
Two, here's my problem with renewables now.
Yeah.
Whenever I see articles about renewables, like this one, right? They're talking about improved solar, wind, battery storage. Like, okay, I'm like, but it's not the deep well heat drilling. Like, that's the renewable that I want.
You're
like,
missing the deep hole heat drilling.
It's ruined me for everything else, where I'm like, these are all steps. This is not the end. The end is we got to drill a hole to the bottom of the earth and get the mantle people to preheat our water for us. Like, that's really the answer. You need the mantle people.
And they're happy to do it.
They're happy to do it. They got nothing else going on down there. Now, this is really cool. We added something like 22,000 megawatts of power plant capacity in the first half of this year.
Remarkable.
And the vast majority of it is solar, battery, and onshore wind.
6,000 megawatts of it was just batteries.
Well, yeah, that's super interesting. You need to couple that with solar because I don't know if you know this or not, but
the batteries don't charge themselves.
The moon energy is really terrible.
For now. For now.
Yeah, fair. They look at like utilization factor, right? And that's basically what percentage of time is your power plant running at 100%, basically.
Sure.
If it were running at 100% 24 hours a day, what percentage of the day are you getting? Solar, even in the sunniest of areas, is only like 23% typically.
Yeah, sure.
Which is great. I'm not poo-pooing that, but the point is you can't really get more than about 25% capacity of what you install. That is just your utilization factor.
So you really, really optimize those panels to get enough solar energy from stars.
Yeah, right. But even then, just the amount of energy coming in, like you make the efficiency better, but
sure.
There's just not enough energy coming in. But again, I don't want to get stuck on this like I like to do. 30% is not unreasonable to play store. No, you drill a hole in the earth and you get to like 80%. Like I can't get excited about solar cells when I know that if you drill a hole in the earth, you can get to like 80, 90% utilization. And that's incredible.
Yeah, but that hole has to be 12,000
details,
deep.
Jeff. Details.
Digging that hole is a little more complex than it would seem.
It's 12,000 meters. It's like 12 kilometers.
Meters? Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Cute on you trying to go to the Imperial system, but it's like 3x what you just said. No, it's super deep. But the point is, we got lasers shooting holes, melting rocks. We're so close to getting there. Look, I'm glad. I think I'd much rather have solar deployed than gas because I think solar is efficient enough and durable enough that you're going to get more benefit than not. And what I mean by not is the production and lifespan of the panels.
That's if it's photovoltaic.
Yes.
There are other types of solar. But I agree. I mean, you start getting into really mechanical things and you do start having a much shorter lifespan.
I would love to see more of these Stirling engine solar plants. Those feel like the best ones to me because you're concentrating the energy into one location. Your mass consumable, if you will,
superheating liquid
are mirrors. That's your those mirrors are going to last quite some time. And if you come up with something better than the current Stirling engine, you just swap it out.
They get dusty.
Oh yeah. You got to. They just got a big old Dyson. They just run around on. It's fine. Never loses suction. Never had it to begin with.
I never had.
I don't love the idea of there being giant turbine blades getting buried in this
wind farms. Yeah, sure.
No. I'm fine with the farms. I don't love the idea of the giant blades getting buried in the ground after what is a shorter than I thought lifespan. That's not great. Now the good news is we're figuring that out. They're gonna have chipper shredders. It's gonna
moving parts break.
Moving parts break. That's the way to, I think that, which would lean you more towards PVs. But then I look at PVs and I'm like, yeah, but
photovoltaic is pretty great.
It's pretty great, but like if you get the similar sort of utilization factor out of Stirling engines at a similar capex cost, I think I'd rather have that.
I'll bet you don't get the life out of it that you think because ultimately you're spinning a turbine,
more moving parts
to get your power anyway. And moving parts break.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, but if you want a good solar farm, those things articulate too, right? If you want to maximize efficiency, they still articulate.
Yeah, sure.
At the end of the day, you and I can debate articulation of PVs, Stirling engines, turbines. At least it's not coal. Like, let's not lose sight of the fact.
Oh, for sure.
They were like, well, really, I don't know. It's like, it's not coal. Like, isn't that better that it's just not coal?
I think tidal energy is really cool. The systems I've seen on tidal energy are absolutely amazing.
Tidal energy is super interesting.
But guess what? Moving parts that are just getting battered about by the ocean.
Moving parts. That's why we got to put coal in the ocean. You heard it here first, folks.
We just burned coal in the ocean. Okay, enough with the headlines. In fact, enough with the episode. We have to get out of here. Special thanks to our floor director, Mark Ladden.
Oh, thanks, Mark.
We'll be back later this week with our big story, The Art of the Power Down, Options for Better Sleep Part 2. Until then, thank you for listening to all this nonsense. I'm Jeff Parker.
I'm Steve Little.
After Thursday's episode, we have a couple weeks off for travel and rejuvenation, so one more pod to go, provided you don't get strep.
Oh, probably already got it. Too late.
Should have mentioned that earlier.
Yeah, well, all right. See you in 2 sleeps.
Which is exactly what we're discussing.
Bye-bye.
Shalom, everybody.
Gesundheit.
You're a visionary. You see a future where every home, every office has the power of computing at its fingertips. But to get you there, you need a machine that's more than just a tool. You need a partner. Introducing the Commodore 128. The Commodore 128 isn't just a sequel, it's a revolution. It's the ultimate 3-in-1 computer designed for the home user, the programmer, and the business professional. With the flip of a switch, you can harness the familiar power of the Commodore 64 with its vast library of games and educational software. For the serious user, enter CPM mode, a business standard operating system that opens up a whole new world of productivity applications. But the real magic lies in its native C128 mode. Experience an incredible leap forward with 128K of RAM.
128K is enough for anybody.
Double the power of its predecessor. With a faster processor and improved basic language, your programs run smoother and faster than ever before. The Commodore 128 is more than a machine. It's the future. Available today.
I'm so confused.
This week we're changing things up. It's your week to guess. What year is this ad from?
Well, there's no reason for me not to know this. I didn't own a 128.
Did you have a Commodore 64?
I did. That was my first computer.
Okay.
I loved it very much. I still own it. It does not boot, but one day I will fix it.
Oh, no.
A bunch of the original Commodore engineers just bought the trademarks this past week and bought all the Commodore trademarks to try to bring it back in like a retro computing.
Oh, that's super fun.
Like back when computing was fun. It's going to be super cool. I'll put a link in the show notes. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the Commodore 128.
The sequel to the 64.
Yes, and I also love that they refer to it as running smoother and faster because I do remember my Commodore 64 straining quite often, much like your AC compressor.
It wasn't straining.
I could just see it straining. I felt so bad for it. I was working so hard
Sure.
on the 10 print hello 20 go to 10 programs that I would write. I got my 64 in 83 and remember it fondly. Remember the 128 coming out, did not get the upgrade. But what was nuts about the 64 was like you went to Sears to buy it.
Yeah.
And it was like a big deal. It was like for most families, I'd say almost for all families, this was your first personal computer. This was the first computer you had in the house. And that was pretty cool.
But the buying experience was not unlike buying one of those boxes you hooked up to your TV to play games.
100%. That's exactly what it was. Yeah. I used to plug it into the family TV and you sit it on the carpet. And after like a couple months, static killed it. I remember my parents taking it back to the store. They were like, yeah, don't do that. We're going to give you a new one, but not the next time.
Yeah.
And then my dad went and bought like a proper wood like desk for me and hutch to put it on because, static, not your friend.
Static's a problem.
I have only fond memories of my Commodore 64. Commodore 128, I am going to guess this was around probably 1985, 86. I am going to go with 85. 85 is my guess for the Commodore 128. How far off am I, sir?
Bullseye, you are not 1 minute off. It was 1985.